When I was growing up, one of the things I heard so incredibly often was go close the door because Dad wanted to protect the cooling bill and we would leave the door open.
I think your dad and my dad went to the same school, so not only were we not air conditioning the neighborhood, but we also didn't work for the power company. So lights and doors were an important part.
Hi, I'm Kenny Klaus, and this is State 48 Homeowner.
Hey, my friend, welcome back to the State 48 Homeowner Podcast. And today we're talking about the 7 ways to make your home more energy efficient. And we've got a special guest all the way from the East Coast, the Senior VP of Sales for Fujitsu General America, Dennis Stinson. How you doing, Dennis?
I'm doing outstanding. Scott, thanks for having me on your program today, and looking forward to talking about all the great and exciting innovations and happenings in the HVAC business with you today.
And HVAC is probably one of the most important things for us in Arizona, especially here in July. It's incredibly hot, triple digits all the time, every single day. We've had heat advisories, I think, pretty much every day so far in July, and it's probably going to extend into August. And they're running constantly. So we want to make sure our homes are energy efficient. And the first thing that we want to make sure that we're paying attention to is ratings. So talk to me about ratings.
Yeah, so we rate HVAC systems in 2 methods. We rate them in the heating mode and the cooling mode. And for those of you in Arizona, in the cooling mode, we rate that by a SEER rating, Seasonal Energy Efficiency Rating. The higher the number, the more efficient the piece of equipment is. Think of it kind of like a miles per gallon. So in the United States, our Environmental Protection Agency sets a minimum standard based on the geography that you're in. South of the Mason-Dixon, that needs to be 14 SEER or better. And north of the Mason-Dixon, it's 13 SEER or better. So in areas where air conditioning is the predominant form of comfort provision, then the requirement's a little bit higher. So we look at air conditioning rated by a SEER rating, and then we look at heating for a heat pump as rated in an HSPF, or a heating season performance factor is what we look at. So again, the higher the number, the more efficient, the greater the energy we get out based on the energy in. So SEER and HSPF is how we rate heating and cooling conditions for heat pumps.
Okay. And then, so we've got the ratings, but then we can dive in even deeper and pay a little attention to zoning. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so we know that a traditional HVAC system with traditional ductwork is we have a piece of equipment in the basement or a closet or in a garage, but a central air conditioning system that's located in one spot. And then we distribute that through the house through a network of ductwork. The challenge on that is that we have one control to control the entire house, and we don't live in the entire house at one time. So if we're in the family room or we're watching the ball game, we're conditioning every room in the house to make that room comfortable. Whereas if we use zoning, then if I'm in the family room, I dial the temperature for the family room to the temperature that makes me comfortable there. If I am retiring to the bedroom at night, then I can turn the bedroom to the temperature that I like and let the family room adjust to a more ambient temperature and not spend the time or the energy to condition that to what makes me comfortable in my room. Scott, take that one step further. If your kids are growing up and moving out of the house, that we all hope happens at some day in the future, and they get professional and whatnot, and they leave some empty rooms in there, there's no need to condition that room to be comfortable when it was occupied. So my house, my kids are grown, they're moved on. There's no need to condition each and every one of those rooms to make myself comfortable in the master bedroom. So zoning allows you to zone, but allows you to be comfortable in each and every room. And one step further is that with zoning, it also allows certainly for different temperatures in each room. So that if I like to sleep at 68 degrees, but one of my kids prefers 72, nobody's sweating, nobody's getting out blankets. You dial in the temperature that you want. So everybody's comfortable based on how they feel.
So it doesn't just have to be Dad's rules only?
Well, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. Yes, absolutely.
So you mentioned Inverter Tech. What is Inverter Tech?
So Inverter Technology is kind of cool. So it's what we do, it's how we control the equipment. So we are heat pumps, so we're driven by electricity. But how you control that electricity is really where the secret is in the sauce. So inverter technology, we take AC current, we convert it into DC current, we pulse that into the compressor. The compressor is the largest energy consuming device inside of a heat pump, far and beyond everything else. So being able to control that energy going into it, the energy in and of itself goes in more efficiently, but also we get a greater turn down ratio. So when we talk about being able to zone each and every room, not only can we do that, but then we also adjust the speed of the compressor and the flow of the refrigerant, if you will, meaning that it's kind of like cruise control in a car, that when you're climbing up a hill, the engine needs to kick into a little higher degree, but when you're coming down the other side, the engine can slow back down. The closer I am to the set temperature, the compressor will slow down and just maintain and replace what BTUs are leaving the space or entering the space. And as that differential gets greater, then the compressor will speed up and provide greater heating or cooling into it. So think of it kind of like cruise control, but it allows for a variable speed, if you will, to replace the BTUs that are being removed from the room through natural elements.
This episode is brought to you by Klaus Team Real Estate Solutions, powered by Real Broker. At the Klaus Team, we're focused on making sure our clients have the most solutions, the solid representation and risk mitigation they deserve, and an incredible experience from day one. For us, it's about 2-1-2. At 211 degrees, water's hot. At 212 degrees, water boils. Boiling water produces steam, and steam can power a locomotive. It's that one extra degree that makes all the difference. At the Klaus Team, we go the extra degree to make your real estate journey exceptional before, during, and after your purchase or sale. For us, it's not just about a transaction. From buying your dream home to purchasing wealth through investments, our 212 experience ensures outstanding service every step of the way. But don't just take our word for it. Check out our client reviews on Google or at klausteam.com/reviews. We're Klaus Team Real Estate Solutions, your real estate partner for life. So when I was growing up, one of the things I heard so incredibly often was, go close the door. And because Dad wanted to protect the cooling bill, and we would leave the door open. So one of the things that we need to keep doing all the time is making sure that A, our doors and windows are closed, but B, just making sure that when they're closed, that we're making sure that they're sealed. So let's talk about sealing our windows and doors.
Yeah, absolutely. So by the way, I think your dad and my dad went to the same school. So not only were we not air conditioning the neighborhood, but we also didn't work for the power company. So absolutely. So lights and doors were an important part. But yeah, so it's important that when you create comfort inside of a home, whether that's heating or cooling, that you also want to be able to maintain that. So through proper insulation, proper door sealing, proper window sealing is all part of that. And we know that the tighter homes get, the more we need to pay attention to that. So there are devices and mechanisms and ways of exchanging air inside of a house, but you want to be able to control that. So when we take a look at a piece of a property, good windows, good closing windows, proper fitting doors, proper insulation in attics, sealing around outlets, all of that adds to home comfort. And when you add to home comfort, you also add to efficiency. So we're running a piece of equipment because of the load that's inside the building, not because of the load that's squeaking out through the cracks and the nooks and the crannies of the house to get to the outside.
Another thing that we want to pay attention to, especially in Arizona, is our insulation. Now, there's a couple different kinds of insulation. We got our spray-in insulation, and then we also, if we go up in the attic, we'll just find that we've got that insulation that's just kind of blown in, and it just kind of will pile up in some places and be a little bit lower in other places. Talk to us about insulation.
Well, so insulation is obviously rated at an R value, and based on where you live, that R value may vary between the walls and any type of base that you're on, and then certainly in the attic as well. And then we look at attics on whether they're ventilated or not. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that the insulation is right for your environment, and you want to make sure that the insulation is maintained. So when we talk about knowing different types of contractors and being able to maintain your home, maintaining your insulation value is part and parcel to that, to make sure that it's checked on some regular cadence, so that if there is some settling unsettling going in there, you have the ability to supplement it. I can assure you that what you would spend to add a little bit of insulation will most likely be compensated in what you spend in terms of wear and tear and operation of your equipment. So maintain your home, maintain your piece of equipment, and you're in good shape.
Yeah, that is a big piece of my spring, is getting Bobby out and making sure that he's checking my HVAC system and getting it prepped. We always, in the spring, Bobby comes out and does that checkup, making sure that my HVAC system is ready for the summer. Because I don't want to come into summer and not have done some maintenance on my HVAC system, at least going through and making sure that everything is running just right. So we like you said, we want to maintain our equipment.
Absolutely, and that's a wise thing to do, and a great thing for your listeners to listen to. In fact, I would even guess you probably have recommendations for some good people for people to take a look at. But it's a mechanical piece of equipment, so we know, like a car, you want it to get looked at. We know that we move a lot of air over top of our coils, so keeping those clean and maintained is a good practice. If they are not maintained, then they build up an insulation type of dust and what have you on top of it, and your equipment doesn't operate as efficiently. So having a contractor come out, clean your indoor coil, clean your outdoor coil, clean that condensate line so it doesn't overflow, and be able to make sure the equipment's in proper operating fashion will be money well spent to preserve the lifetime of the equipment and also have it operate with the efficiency and the comfort level that you bought it to do.
So how do you choose a good HVAC tech?
You kind of know who you're going to call if things go south, right? And I would recommend that there's probably 3 or 4 people that you should know or have on your Rolodex. I think I just showed my age.
You know what we see, Dennis, is we see in the neighborhood Facebook groups, people sitting there going, hey, does anybody know a good HVAC tech? And you're realizing their AC went out. It's July 3 or July 4, July 5, and they're sitting there looking for an HVAC tech at the wrong time.
So you and I are on the same page on this. You should know an HVAC person, or at least know who you're going to reach out to, and hopefully that's the person or the company or the individual that's been doing your annual maintenance. So they know you, you know them, and there's a relationship. You should know a plumber. Because someday that faucet's going to leak, the water heater's going to give up the ghost. Someday you're going to need a plumber. You should know a plumber. You should know somebody that's going to work on the exterior of your home. You're going to have a hailstorm, a shingle's going to blow off, something's going to happen to the siding. You should know somebody that you're going to call. And you should also know an electrician, because someday something's not going to look right and you're going to want to know who to call. So when you take a look for an HVAC contractor, our recommendation from a trusted friend is by far the best. So whether that's a relative or that's a neighbor, I'm that geeky guy that if I go to a 4th of July party, I might ask my friends, who did your work on your roof, or I saw there was a truck in your driveway, how did they do that for? If you're looking for somebody specific for our piece of equipment, then I would recommend you go to our website, fujitsugeneral.com, and on side there is a contractor locator. They only show up on that locator if they have a minimum hours of training and a minimum number of installations. So it's not somebody that said, please recommend me. It's somebody that said, I've earned the right to be recommended to install this piece of equipment. So that's one way of being able to look at it. So asking friends and neighbors and looking at the resources of a manufacturer is a really good way to find somebody that's qualified and somebody you can trust. But the most important thing is know them before you need them, and then that way you can make better decisions.
And as a bonus, let's talk about saving some money with the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah, so the Inflation Reduction Act is really a very, very good piece of legislation. It's slow in developing because it's a little more involved, but it has a couple of elements to it. The first element is Provision 25C. Now, this is a provision that we've had for some time. This has been something we've been working with for the last 8 or 9 years. And effectively what it is, it's a federal tax credit. So you can have 30% of the cost of a project with an annual cap, but certainly HVAC upgrades would qualify for that. So if you upgrade to a qualified piece of equipment, then you can take 30% of that cost and as a direct line deduction off of your federal income taxes. So Scott, with that legislation, if it was just that, that means that you could put in a much higher efficiency piece of equipment cheaper than you could put in a standard model. So it gives you the ability to go to really upgrade your equipment, reduce your operational costs, increase your comfort for less than if you put in the bare bones what you needed to do. The next phase of the Inflation Reduction Act is a little more involved, and it was pushed down to the states to make the decision. The mindset is that the states know the best way to satisfy the citizens of the states, and I'm not going to disagree with that. And it's also income based. So if you got the biggest house on the block, you're probably not going to get as much as the person that makes less money than you do, or invariably what your house is. But at the end of the day, there's an allowance of up to $8,000 to install a heat pump. There's an allowance for up to $4,000 to upgrade your electrical system. So if you install a qualified piece of equipment and you fall in the right income bracket, then you could have considerable funds coming back. Even if you're in the higher end of the income bracket, there's still funds there for you to upgrade your piece of equipment. And interestingly, you can use the traditional IRA on top of the 25C, so you could get a direct rebate and take a deduction off of your income taxes. So there's really a lot of really good incentives that when you're ready to improve your HVAC system, do a little bit of homework, take a look and see what's available out there. Again, you're already going to know a good contractor. Contractors are being coached up every day by their distributors on how to apply for these types of things for consumers to work with it. So it's a really good thing in the HVAC industry. If you're thinking of upgrading your equipment, talk to a couple of people, get some really good ideas, but you can end up with a really nice, dependable, operational piece of equipment for very affordable.
Well, thank you so much, Dennis. And if you like the video, make sure you like it, subscribe to the channel, click the little bell for notifications. And if you want to find some local contractors, go to klausteam.com/recommended vendors. Thank you so much, Dennis.
Thank you for having me. Take care and stay cool.
Thanks for spending time with us this week at State 48 Homeowner, the ins and outs of owning an Arizona home. You can connect with us for more information, submit topics you'd like us to further discuss. You can see relevant videos, give us feedback, answer your real estate questions, and more at state48homeowner.com.